Hi, I'm back again with another review. As promised, I'm going to be reviewing Cube. Cube was a movie that was, my cousin suggested it to me years ago. It is a Canadian film. It came out in 1997. It's classified as a psychological thriller / horror film. Basically, and I'm not going to give away too much, and again, I know some people want to know it all, but really, if I do, I will spoil the movie. I really will. And this, you just don't want to spoil it. You just want to enjoy it. It's worth it. Trust me. But essentially, when the movie begins, there's a man. He wakes up in a room. He doesn't know where he is. He looks around, and it's a cube. It's a room with 4 walls, but in a top and a bottom. There are 6 doors. There's one on each side of him, as well as one on the top, one on the bottom. He looks into each room. He eventually decides to go into one room in particular. When he does, and he lands in the room, you hear him gasp, and then you see this invisible gate, which you've not seen until then, which has impaled him all the way through, because you see blood and lines on his face. You see it fold back up, and then he slowly breaks apart into pieces. It's then that you know that this is going to be one hell of a movie, and it really is. The next scene, you're introduced to 5 characters. All of them wake up around the same time in this room. They don't know how it got there. They're all clothed the same in these grayish green outfits. They, don't know what they're doing there. They don't know how they've gotten there. All they have is their memory of going to sleep the night before or whatnot. They have no idea how they've arrived in this situation. One of them is a doctor who works at a clinic. The other one works in an office. The other one is a student who's a prodigy at math. One is a police officer, and the other one is an escaped convict who is known as the Wrens because he actually escaped from several prison facilities. So when they all kind of learn that after seeing, because the Wrens tells them that the rooms have been booby trapped, they all combine their boots and use their boots to go from room to room to room to try to safely find their way out of this maze of cubes. As they do, there's actually, the Wrens goes into a room he thinks is safe because he thinks they're motion detective, and that's not it. He gets sprayed with acid. He dies as they continue trying to figure it out. At this point, Levin, who's the prodigy at math, she's kind of looked around and has noticed that before you go into each room, there's a little plate with the number. It's then that she starts to believe that perhaps the rooms that are all prime numbers are safe. So they begin using her theory, testing her theory, and it works very well. As they're working their way through the cube, they come across another man. His name is Kazam, and he's mentally impaired. The police officer does not want to keep him around. He's, just feels like he'll slow them down, but the doctor quickly intervenes and says she'll take care of him, so they continue moving along. At some point, as they're going through the cube using the prime number system that Levin thinks will work, the officer is almost killed when he enters the room because they each take a turn. It's then that they realize that it's far more complex than what they think. You also find out that the man that works in the office actually worked on he didn't know it at the time, but he realizes that he actually worked on the design for the cube. As things progress and Levin finds out these things, they piece together a puzzle and find out that it's far more elaborate, and she has to actually, it's the integer of a prime or something to that effect in order for them to find it, because the rooms all shift. And since the rooms all shift, then they have to go through the specific rooms, and eventually they find out that the room that they started out in is the room that would lead them out, because when the cubes shift, eventually they'll shift to a room that allows an exit from the cube, if you will. That's giving away a lot. It's telling you a lot about the flick, but it's to give you an idea of what you can expect. Now, as you can imagine, these are people that have no food and no water. They suck on buttons from their jackets to keep the saliva flowing. And there's a lot of mistrust. There's a lot of doubt. And the police officer eventually goes off his rocker and begins to become violent towards the group, bossing the group around, and things take a very bad turn very quickly. Saying any more than that would ruin it, but let's just say that it's definitely more than what it seems, and it makes for one hell of a movie. The first time I saw this movie, I absolutely fell in love. And I can honestly tell you that every time I watch it, I love it just as much as I did the first time. The acting in it is fantastic. The plot is also wonderful. And it's a movie where you actually care for the characters. I mean, obviously, the police officer is one that you begin not to care for so much because he's a bit of an asshole. But the rest of them, you really want them to find a way out. You want them to be safe. You want them to eventually work out the puzzle that is the cube and to find safe passage home. And I want to say more, but I won't. So I'm going to go into my ratings for this. I know I'm not telling you that much, but honestly, if you just trust me in my taste in movies, you'll give it a shot because it really is a fantastic movie. It's a movie that I don't think enough people have seen. I'm going to see if I can get it on DVD because when I was reminded of it, I thought, wow, I need this on DVD. I really do because I would love to watch it on DVD. A sexuality, I'm just going to give it a 1, and the only reason I'm going to give it a 1 is there is a scene involving the police officer and Levin in which he tries to sexually assault her, but nothing is shown, but it's enough to warrant a 1. The violence in it, I'm going to say a 3.5 as things progress and the movie begins going downhill as the characters turn on one another. Things do become violent, and there's a scene, especially toward the end, where it's pretty graphic. The gore, again, I'm going to probably give that a 3.5 because some of the rooms are booby-trapped and there's some pretty awesome gore scenes. Nothing over the top, but just enough. And overall enjoyment, as I'm sure you all can figure out, is a 5. This is definitely one of my must-see movies. I think everybody should see this movie if you've never seen it. Most of you, well, I don't know if most of you have heard of it before, but I know a lot of people have not, and it's a shame because it is an excellent movie and it's one of my all-time favorites. So there you go. There's my review for Cube. I'm sorry I don't tell you more, but I really don't want to ruin it. I mean, it's an excellent movie with an excellent plot, and I just can't say enough things about it. I mean, I think it's a brilliant flick. So if you're interested, be sure to check it out, and I hope that this review in some way kind of can persuade you to give it a shot or a chance. But that's all for now. Hopefully I'll have another review tomorrow. I'm about to go. I have to head out again, but until then, I'm sure that I'll speak, whatever, chat with you all soon via comment or visiting your channels. Until then, I will talk to you all later. All right, bye.